going on, guys? It's Jay Watchers bringing you a quick video on how to do the Demonic Ruins game mode in the new Above the Clouds event. So to unlock the challenge, guys, you are going to have to get to at least stage 5 on Pathseekers, and I definitely recommend doing it as soon as possible. Unlike other events where usually you just do your best and that's it, it seems to be a daily claim feature this time. So every day you come, do your highest damage dealt, claim the rewards here on the left. So yeah, just do make sure that you get this done as soon as possible so you can get as many J's as you can from the game mode. The stage itself is a bit of a weird one. Despite the values here, the boss seems to have very little defense. I've tried multiple different units like Diao-chan and Dolorous, and also units like Volker applying vulnerability, and none of it really seemed to make that much of an impact like it would in normal content. Sort of treated it like a Drake's Chasm fight at first, but yeah, really didn't seem to make much of a difference. And in fact, once Diao came off the team and I had an extra DPS unit down, I was doing more. So the consensus here is that the boss doesn't really seem to have any sort of defense, and it's more just batter the boss as much as you can, deal as much damage as you can with as many units as you can. That seems to be the best thing that works. Now, I'm not even going to bother going over any of his attacks because it's just straight chaos in there. You're not even going to be able to tell which ones are even happening. The only important thing to know is the Sever the Path skill. The boss will deal 2 instances of AoE damage to all heroes on the field, and when the skill ends, if a hero has at least 5 stacks of physical defense and magic res reduction, he will remove 5 stacks of it and then inflict stun on them. They get these physical defense and magic res reductions from Sundering Blade. At the end of an attack, it will add 1 stack to the target. Again, we see it in Soulbinding Blade as well. When all skills end, if a hero has at least 5 stacks of physical defense and magic res reduction, it will remove 5 stacks and inflict stun on them. This stun effect, however, cannot be dispelled, unlike Sever the Path. So the stun isn't going to be completely avoidable. Another difficult thing as well is actually getting units to reach the boss. Now, all of this area here is available to use. The comp I'm going to be doing today does make use of some longer range units, so I can keep them towards the back here with my healers and cleansers. Sort of the only issue I've seemed to have. Perhaps you could put your cleanser up here in the middle, and then you could just run 6 fighter units, the ones at the back facing it left and right. Just be aware of this spawn over here. There's not many enemies that come out with it, however it is enough to, over the period of the stage, go to your crystal and ruin your run. You do get 5 lives, and it doesn't mess with your score at all if you do get a hit on the crystal, so you can also let a few through for convenience. And then of course, like the rest of Pathseekers, we do see these yin yang tiles, the array tiles showing up again. I found that spacing out the units as best as you can between the arrays deactivating is your best shot here, but also tacticians can be quite useful. And during my run, I did also have a couple units cycling. At one point, for example, I believe I put Leia down, then she died, and then I put another one on another tile, just sort of keeping that array going as long as you can to avoid the calamity effects. So the one I'm going to be doing it for today is hard difficulty. I would just pick the one that is recommended for your team. I am sitting at about 800k BP at the moment. Of course, BP isn't everything, but it should give you a general idea. Main reason being, you want to make sure you're hitting this top reward. For example, if you were to do hard but only hit 80k or 130k, you'll only be looking at 550 Immortal Jades. However, getting 55k on Elite, you'll be looking at 600. So it is important to do the one that you can max out. As for the team I'll be running, of course, not everyone's going to have these heroes, so I'll try to detail what role they play, and you can find a replacement for them. I'm using Leia mainly as a Lord here, although she does come in handy when I need to get an array on the go, but I don't really use her for her actual healing or ultimate. Wukong's going to be supplying a majority of the damage here. I don't need to explain Wukong, very simply, huge single target damage, and because of his attack range, he will focus all of his attacks on the boss. I then have Hollow, who's just providing some heals and rage regen, and I put her off an array tile right at the start so we can get Wukong, Nezha, and the rest spamming ults as much as possible. So Rosalia here's a bit of a weird fit. I'm mainly using her since she has range long enough to hit the boss straight from the back left tile. She also blocks the units that are coming in from that left portal. For some reason, the unit did just seem to disappear. I haven't fully looked into the mechanics of them, but it seems to work out for me. Tallulah is actually going to be, for me and for others, one of the key heroes here. Again, referencing the stuns that we're going to be getting inflicted on us. To prevent that, we want to debuff, cleanse as many physical and magical reduction debuffs as possible. We just want to get rid of all of them. Tallulah are amazing for it. Forest Spirit, Butterfly Waltz have a 50% chance to dispel 1 debuff from each bearer every 2 seconds, which means she kind of works around the team and gets everyone's debuff slowly removed. If you haven't got Tallulah, there is always Maiden, who will debuff cleanse all allies during her ultimate. So for newer players, I would perhaps recommend Maiden on the front middle tile, and then I would have perhaps Nasandi at the back, who again also dispels all debuffs from allies. On the bottom tile, I'm using an ESO comp with Nastia, Nezha and Aeris. Now, as much as that is perhaps daunting for newer players, I will simply explain their roles here. Nastia is a really strong single target damage dealer, specifically for bosses. Nezha is great at both doing boss damage and the units that are coming towards him on the left side, the AoE sort of area. Really deals some crazy damage here, so if you do have Nezha, do get him involved, but if not, again, perhaps you could use someone trying to stick to the epics here. You could perhaps, again, pull in an Estrid here who can supply some AoE damage as well as some defense reductions. You have Wrath that could work quite well as a single target damage dealer, as well as Deimos. But again, just looking at their kits, Nezha is still only fighting the enemies through that single lane, so you don't necessarily need a unit here that's going to have the 3x3 range, as long as they're doing some AoE damage within that single tile. So again, Volker, for example, can do some nice AoE, then that will work too. For my setup specifically, Nezha works where I'm putting him because of his ult extension range, so preferably as well, you'd want a unit such as Aeris that we're using that has that extended range. Aeris is perfect for it because he extends to 5, so I can actually put him a tile further back than Nezha, and then he'll not only deal with the mobs that come in, but then also during his ult, he will be able to hit the boss at the back. These two units are being used, 1, because they of course do damage, but 2, because I'm able to deploy them where I'm deploying them and still reach the boss with them. If that wasn't the case, I would perhaps just change up the composition. So for example, guys, on this left side, you could have Estrid here, dealing AoE damage, of course, to the guys that come in from the left, but also, I think with her Awakening, she extends from sort of 1 tile in front of herself to 3, so she should hit the boss as well, placing some defense reduction. Again, defense not a big deal here, but just in regards to more free-to-play characters and that same similar role, AoE and hitting the boss at the same time, that sort of fits there. And then you can put perhaps a Wrath or whoever, single target fighter in front. The right side is a little bit more difficult because they've dropped this platform tile on the right, so you would have to find someone that you can bring a bit further back. Again, perhaps like someone like an Arrogance, Nezha, sort of anyone with that wider range, dealing some AoE damage to the mobs that come in from this side, and then a legendary fighter with at least a 3 total attack range here. To deal some damage. You could then put Maiden here, who would cover this back line as well as up here, removing all the debuffs off people there. And then again, if you needed to, you could have Nasandi at the back here. And then you could make use of the center array tiles by placing in, for example, Wukong. Wukong is I put on this tile, and most newbies are going to have Wukong as long as you follow the banner rules, so you could drop Wukong here in the middle. As long as you've got debuff cleansers available for all of the units that are being placed, you have some AoE damage to deal with the mobs coming in, as well as damage going towards the boss, and then some either temporary units or a unit you could use here to just get rid of the guys on the left, then you should be absolutely fine. Instead of auto fight, I am going to run through the stage quick. I don't know if I'm going to end up with the same score because of all the different mechanics going on. You'll see how I place everyone, and at least how I get things going, and that should help you work from there. So to start off, we do have to be quick here because of the boss's attacks. I'm going to be placing Nezha and Nastia here, as well as activating Nezha's ult straight away, and as soon as possible get Tallulah down to support with some heals, and again cleansing those debuffs off them. As soon as we have another unit available, of course, with placing Nezha on the array tile, we want to consider them taking up the next array, which I want to be Wukong. However, we are going to have some enemies come here on the right, so we do need to make sure that we've got some cost for that as well. Wukong goes down here. So we now have our 3 main damage dealers for the run. I now have to consider these units coming over here, which is why I'm going to now place my Aeris. We're going to start using some ults. Now we've got Aeris down and we've protected this right side, and we don't need to get any array sorted out. I can put Hollow down here on the left to not only rage regen but also heal. I do now have an enemy coming here on the bottom left, but again, him going into the crystal doesn't actually affect my score at all, and I have another array tile that needs to be activated soon, so I'm going to let them hit the crystal. We'll get a Wukong ult here. Now the array's gone, I'm going to get Vlad placed down here on the right side to protect Nezha, to protect Aeris from dying, sorry. Again, we have another unit on the left coming in, but I'm just not really too bothered about them at the moment. Get some Wukong ults going off. And use Hollow here, as well as Eris's ult, so we can start hitting the boss at the back and get Nezha back in again as well. We've got our next array coming up, guys, so again, I want to consider who we're placing. We only have one deployable left, and so for now, instead of using Rosalia, I'm going to get Draylin down here on this tile, who can provide some heals, and just ensure that that next unit that comes by instead doesn't hit our crystals, so we don't take too much damage. And then the run short. We've got another Tallulah ult coming here as well as a Hollow, just to make sure everyone's ulted. Unfortunately, Hollow, as you can see, is stunned now, so I'm unable to use her ult. Same goes for quite a few of them here. Thankfully, Wukong isn't. We have had Eris go down, unfortunately. We do need to use another array tile, and so what we're going to do here, guys, since we don't have a mob on the left, is take out Draylin. I can then place down Rosalia, and then I can use Leia here in the middle to activate the array, and use some ults here when we can. Fortunately, again, Vlad here is knocked out. We do manage to get a Wukong buff, Wukong ult going, sorry. We do also get the Leia ult off. And we do have our Rosalia coming up now. We can use Vlad to get rid of this fodder here. We then have Wukong and Hollow. Again, we are running out of an array now. We do have 2 fighters as well. And we have a fighter tile up here that we can use, and so what we're going to do is now Rosalia's ult is over, she's not going to be able to supply any support with all of these enemies coming, so we're going to remove Rosalia and then put Draylin here at the top on that array tile, which will also supply some help to the guys up here. Unfortunately, we now see who just went down? We now see Rosalia go down as well. We have a couple of options here, guys. Quickly pause. We can put Eris right up at the front to just deal as much last minute damage as we can. We're already near to our 200k total we need. Or we can also play it safe since we have a minute 20 left and put him in the back line. Since we have our last array tile here finishing up quite soon, and Hollow potentially not making it back quick enough, we might opt for the all-out damage. I'm going to, for the sake of the run, how I did it last time, I placed Eris back at the back line, and hopefully Hollow comes by soon enough to ensure that array doesn't affect us. So I'm going to place Eris back over here, since Nezha definitely doesn't need any help. We can also, because Eris is Esotesaurus, get his ult off straight away, and also get a Leia for some damage and rage. And there we go, guys, 200k there. It is now going to become absolute chaos. We've got no arrays available, we've got no units available. We are going to have Hollow maybe here just in time, in which case we can actually consider getting rid of Eris here and getting in a Hollow just to ensure that the Calamity doesn't affect us too much. Fortunately, Draylin's stand up there at the front. Is what it is. Again, we've got 7 seconds here. We have actually managed to do a better score than last time, which was nice to see. With that, guys, that is the Demonic Ritual. Again, it is just pure all-out chaos. We got a better score here this time than last time, and it really did take me quite a few tries to fully get the right positioning for everyone. Obviously, Wukong, Nezha, and Nastia being the main core units of our score here. As many DPS units hitting the boss as possible. Make sure you've got some debuff cleansing. Make sure you've got some rage regen and heals, and again some units to cycle round the arrays to ensure that the Calamity effects don't kill you and end your run too soon. So there you go. That's how to do Demonic Ruins on the new Above the Clouds event. Hope that helps out, guys. If I've missed anything out, please do comment below. Perhaps things that can help out other players trying to higher their score, how it works and what works best is still unknown. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care and have a great rest of your weekend.